Well, there isn't much better than a good salty snack, and one Oneida farmer definitely agrees. He's been growing popcorn on his family farm for over 5 generations. He tells us why he keeps coming back to the tree year after year and just how far his family's popcorn is sold. What's unique about what you're doing today?
Well, today on our family farm, we are planting our wholeless, no toothpicks required popcorn. And unlike most of the popcorn that your viewers have seen, we grow red and blue specialty popcorn. So it doesn't get stuck in your teeth, takes a little bit more tender loving care, and that's why it's the last for the blast day of planting season.
Very good. Well, is it actually red and blue?
Yeah, it does. It starts out red and blue. It'll still pop white, but it will have a unique flavor profile. The red will be a little bit salty and tender, and the blue will be crunchier and a little bit sweeter, but they do have a very unique look to them.
How did you get wholeless popcorn? Like, I don't understand how that works.
Sure. Well, we had a mentor in college, Dr. Jim Walker. He's a wonderful person who mentored my wife actually in the Department of Ag Communications at the University of Illinois, and he introduced us to it. And it's sort of like an heirloom. It hasn't had a lot of no genetic modification, and certainly not a lot of research that goes into it. Sort of like having tomatoes from your grandma's garden. It exists because it tastes better. It doesn't yield as well, so you're not going to see it mass produced at, say, your local movie theater or in Orville Redenbacher, some of the commodity producers. But we got into it because we want to focus on quality over quantity. We want to be a family farm that's associated with making good memories. We like to say make memories pop. And yeah, focus on what tastes good, not necessarily what you can grow the most of.
Okay, so like you said, it's not going to maybe be in the movie theater, but you do have it quite a few places, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a seasonal thing, which breaks my heart, right? We eat popcorn every day, and it's a super snack. It's gluten-free, it's non-GMO, it's incredibly healthy, it's a high-fiber snack, right? But most grocery stores will buy it typically as it becomes more when people want that hearty indoor snack that they're going to have in the fall, winter, and early spring. But depending on the time of year, we're in upwards of 900 stores nationwide. So you know, that sounds like a lot. It really isn't. We're still fairly small. We're nowhere near the big Fortune 500 food companies. But it is fun to talk to folks who call, see something on our website, and you know, I get an answer when I'm driving in my tractor, and it's some sweet little old lady from Florida or a retired man from Montana, and they just have questions about the farm.
Yeah. So tell me, I mean, from coast to coast, or like what states are you in?
Sure, we are pretty much in every single state, hit or miss. We have a presence in Florida, California, obviously here in Illinois. We've had some success with Hy-Vee, although they've changed their buyers. That's been a little frustrating, but we are in a lot of niche mom and pop grocery stores that want something that's unique and that connects with consumers instead of some mass-produced product. So you can find us just about anywhere a quality product is sold. That usually it's a quirky owner, someone who has a different philosophy than just sell whatever they can.
This is a field of popcorn that we're standing in?
This is a field that's outlined with regular field corn that I planted a few days ago, finishing up the corn planting season. And this is where our popcorn is going to be. So as you look out, we're going to have about 25 acres of popcorn, which is about mid-range. We've had as low as 5 and as much as 60, depending on the demand flows we've had. But I will highlight to your viewers, we are just about a quarter of a mile north of Pilot Knobs. That's where our name came from. Pilot Knob is the highest point between the Illinois and Mississippi rivers. So this is where my 5th generation family farm settled in 1877. And we've been growing popcorn for about 100 years. We've been selling it commercially for about the last 10.
Wow. And so I've got way more questions about popcorn and field corn, but what made you guys decide like popcorn was something you wanted to do? It's such a niche, like,
Sure.
you know, crop.
Yeah, well, for one, it was fun. I have some of my earliest memories, again, making memories pop, are sitting on my father's lap when I was a toddler, you know, 30 some odd years ago, eating a bowl of popcorn after the end of the day. And we've always grown it as a hobby. That we just decided, well, what if we took something that was a hobby, we have the agronomic skill, the economic, the management, and we have the ambition, why don't we turn this from a hobby to a profit center for the family farm, right? You know, I love growing corn and soybeans, but you know, when I deliver to the ethanol plant or feed the cows, they don't really say thank you. It's really neat to connect with consumers and say, you know, I grew that on my farm. And it's just, if I'm serving a customer, I'm serving a need for my farm as well as them, everybody wins, and it's a wonderful way to make sure the family farm has a chance to go to the 6th generation.
Yeah. And so first let's like talk a little bit about the differences. You said out here is field corn. Why are you planting? First, what's the difference between field corn and popcorn for people that might not know?
Sure. Field corn and popcorn are obviously cousins. They are very closely related, but their end use is very different because their nutrient profile and overall kernel composition are very different. So the field corn, right where we're standing here at the edge of the popcorn, it is going to be much higher in starch content. So it's very wonderful for converting baby cows into steaks, or to make wonderful biofuels that we use in ethanol. It has a higher starch content. Popcorn has a lower starch content, is a little bit higher in amylopectin, and it just has a very different nutrient profile, and so it will behave very differently, obviously, when you introduce it to heat, and that's where we get that wonderful texture when it turns inside out and pops and you've got something to enjoy. So they're very much related. I can manage them very similarly, but the differences, though subtle, are critical.
Yeah, so some critical differences there. Why are you planting field corn on the outside of the popcorn?
Yeah, so the field corn is going to be harvested first, and I want this to be harvested and open up to allow a little bit better airflow and a little bit better access to our popcorn come harvest season, because one of our products that we call our pop cob, we harvest the entire ear of popcorn. You can put that in the microwave, and that's a single serving of popcorn that comes right off the cob. So, well, to do that, that requires a little bit more maneuvering and equipment than what a traditional combine harvester would be. So we want to harvest this area first. The other thing is the popcorn gets harvested last. We want Mother Nature to dry it down to just about that optimum 11 to 15% moisture, because if you do that naturally instead of introducing forced heated air, it just adds to the quality of the experience and the quality of storage for our customers. So it's going to be harvested last. Let's have the headlands get it so that we can move equipment around, and it just works a lot better that way.
Yeah, and it's also planted last too, right?
It is planted last. So again, our popcorn hasn't had the rigor and the modifications and things that go into it that field corn has had. And as a result, it doesn't have the hybrid vigor, that's a technical term in the industry, of how well field corn can address stress of planting early in cold conditions or drought and et cetera. We like our popcorn to be planted last because the soils tend to be a little bit warmer. It adds a little bit to the resiliency as we start the growing season.
Very good. What other differences are there between growing the two as a farmer that does both?
The big difference is kind of in weed control, because without the hybrid vigor, we don't plant at as thick of a population. So as a result, it's not going to shade the rows as well. So I've got to be a little bit more careful. It is non-GMO, so we don't have some of the same tools that other growers use, and that's fine. We believe in a minimalist. We've experimented with organic production, and we're probably a few years away from completing that. But the weed control becomes a bit of an issue. The popcorn will still yield well, but then you can have problems going forward as you build a seed bank. Now, the real differences start once you get to harvest, because you've got to store it right, you've got to make sure the moisture is right, otherwise if it's too wet, it doesn't pop. If it's too dry, it doesn't pop. So the big differences start around harvest, because instead of sending a load of corn to the ethanol plant and getting a check in a week, now you got to go make your market. You've got to go out and sell and do these things. But in the field, the weed control is really the big difference.
Yeah. Okay, so now it brings more questions from me, but when do you sell it then? Are you contracted, or how does it, if you don't mind me asking, how does that work?
No, that's fine. Any and all ways, right? So we don't do farmers markets. Folks have asked us about it. Well, when you grow something that's a non-perishable or a storable commodity, which popcorn is, it's very different than, say, tomatoes, right? Our margins are not going to be as high as someone who's growing the tomatoes or parsley or whatever the case might be. And that's okay. Those folks, it's a perishable. They need to charge more. They're going to have a higher margin. Farmers markets, we don't really necessarily sell enough to make that work for us. Plus, if I'm at a farmer's market, there's a lot of other farmers markets I'm not at. So we really try and target stores. So I call it the rifle and the shotgun. The rifle, you're going big game hunting. We're trying to talk to the Hy-Vees of the world, say, hey, get us in all 230 stores like Hy-Vee has. The shotgun approach is, let's throw it out to everybody who has a focus on quality. So the one I would highlight here, we're 17 miles away from Galesburg. There's a store locally called Cornucopia, and they are wonderful. They've treated us great. They have a focus on quality. Well, if we can find a store like that, within every 100-mile radius, all of a sudden you've got a pretty good set of loyal customers that are great, but now you're dealing with lots of little customers. So that's that rifle shotgun approach. So sometimes it's contracted. For the most part, it's pick up the phone, send some emails, go to stores, give them samples. And we do really well once we get in the store. It's just hard to penetrate the market. I'll ask you a question. How many things are in the average supermarket? 47,000 SKUs, stock keeping units. Our family farm can grow 7. So as a result, how do you compete in that type of, it's a hyper competitive market? Well, you got to focus on quality, right? Because we are fundamentally trying to get people to think of Pilot Knob Farm instead of Orville Redenbacher when you hear the word popcorn.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Totally different market than a lot of your regular commodities.
It's fun and it's frustrating because we start treating it as a commodity, but we really want to go away from commodity to ingredient to experience, right? And that is tough to do. We've accomplished that to a certain extent, but not where our goals want to be. But if I lay a good groundwork, the 6th generation can pick up the ball and run with it.
What's the end goal?
The end goal is that when you hear the word popcorn, you think of Pilot Knob Farm instead of Orville Redenbacher. When you buy our product, you will enjoy it and you will be making memories with it. I want Pilot Knob to be the type of brand that's associated with youth group parties at your church, a hard day after work, sitting down with your family playing board games. I want people to think about us when they say, I need a healthy snack, and they're going to grab a bag of our Honestly Awesome ready to eat instead of a bag of potato chips. That's the end goal, because if we do that, we serve a customer and they feel good about it and they make memories pop and enjoy our no toothpicks popcorn, then our farm is going to flourish and my sons are going to have a future.
Yeah, that's great. Tell me a little bit about, I know that you have this unique technology that you use for the kernels, but you also have, and that's not something that you have patented, right? It's just a technology that you use?
No, it's inherent in the popcorn kernels. They have a very thin seed coat, so it's hole-less. Well, there's a hole, it's just so thin it doesn't get stuck in your teeth. I mean, I'm quite a bit bigger than you, but I can eat a bowl this big and never need a toothpick. So that's how we market it. Very different from what you would get in the movie theater. That is not patented. We have had discussions on making our own hybrid popcorn seed. That's down the road, but what we're really working on that's different that you're alluding to is we do have a patent on deep frying popcorn. So we're very excited about that because most restaurants don't carry popcorn. They do carry cheese curds and onion rings and french fries, and as you can tell, I enjoy those things as well, but popcorn is dramatically healthier, it's low cost, and it's a very high margin product for restaurant owners. We have a patent on a fryer basket that would allow popcorn kernels to pop, not get stuck in the oil, as well as still be used to to deep fry the other items that restaurant is serving. So we just got that patent approved here a month or two ago. We're seeking partners if anyone would be interested in trying it. We're doing a pilot program where we'd give free popcorn out in baskets and people could try it out.
Wow, that sounds delicious.
It is. It's not as healthy as air popping for sure, but it's still quite a bit healthier than the cheese curds and onion rings.
Perfect. And then one more question. I know obviously you are super passionate about the memories that popcorn brings, but why from a farmer financial and diversification aspect is growing popcorn important to your family farm?
It's a completely different market. So that's why it's different because, with any type of business, there's going to be cycles, ups and downs, and there's different challenges. When you get away from the true commodity focus of number 2 yellow corn, number 2 yellow soybeans, and nothing against those guys, nothing against that market, but that is very different when I'm watching USDA release export data, acreage intentions versus popcorn. It's very one-on-one, it's very personal, it's very relational, which has its own set of risks in a different business cycle. But because it's a different business cycle, I'm going up the value scale. So I don't need as many acres to be competitive and overall balance the revenue streams of the farm. So I haven't figured out the perfect mix yet, but I have had fun up to this point getting there.
Just one more question. You guys have won quite a few awards too, haven't you?
We've won a few awards, yeah. Last year we were awarded the Ag Tech Entrepreneur of the Year for the University of Illinois. Many moons ago, I think it was about 25 years and 70 pounds ago, I was the American Star Farmer for FFA. And that's a reflection, yes, of the hard work we put in and yes, of our diligence, but also the community, our customers, and our family that's supported us. So yes, we have won some awards. I should point out the Silver Sophie Award, the Specialty Industry Award for our popcorn. It's very award winning, but I try not to hamper too much on that because then it becomes about me instead of enjoying our popcorn.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. This has been great learning about all you guys do.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We love having guests on the farm.
You're probably used to seeing regular farm equipment out in the fields, but a company out of Iowa is creating new autonomous machinery. Saline 247 joins us talking about the why behind this venture. Now the company's founder, Dave Krogh, joins us sharing his vision for these machines. How are you today, Dave?
Hi, Haley. Doing well. Good morning.
Well, great. Good morning, and I am so glad you're here to join us. Tell us, these equipment, it doesn't need a tractor to pull it. So how does it work?
Yeah, so we're developing. The idea is to get big, heavy equipment off the field, and so part of that is getting rid of the tractor. So we're developing what we like to call a smart autonomous toolbar. So you don't need a tractor. You can attach different implements to the toolbar. We started with a planter, but we're also doing a liquid applicator for spraying, side dressing. We have a dry applicator. We have a little prototype cultivator for the organic guys. We have a little strip till prototype as well. So with the toolbar, it's an autonomous toolbar. The implement just attaches directly to that toolbar. And we like to say it's a smart toolbar as well. Software runs the machine. Ultimately, our vision is that artificial intelligence will actually run these machines and monitor these machines in the field. Right now, we're kind of early stages, but we have a couple of prototypes in the field so far, and in the process of building another one.
Wow. Well, I know we have some video we're going to show in a second here, but I know you've mentioned that your name comes from the fact that you want these to run 24/7. Tell me about that and any other reasons you were hoping to create this machinery.
Yeah, I mean, we want to address things like soil health, in particular soil compaction. So we want the lighter machine out there. So yeah, the focus is really on soil health and sustainability, but there are labor issues that we're trying to address as well. And we think we can also bring down the cost of farm machinery. So, and what was the first question, Haley? I missed
Yeah,
that.
no, you got it there. That was what I was looking for. What are you hearing from farmers? Are they interested in this? I know you've had some out in the field.
Yeah, this is our fourth spring in the field planting, and we've done other post-emerge things as well. So we've been on, I think, around 55 farms over the last 4 years in 7 states. So we've been in front of a lot of farmers, either in the field or at different shows. I guess the reaction from farmers is they're very interested in what we're doing. It's definitely a different way to grow a crop. But everybody is intrigued. We don't have any. We've never talked to any farmers that are really against what we're trying to do. Not all are necessarily comfortable with the idea of autonomous farm equipment, but our vision is that ultimately all crops are going to be grown with autonomous equipment, and probably with autonomy, you don't need the big heavy equipment. You can do it with small machines.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that there's some next steps coming soon. What are those, and how long are these large? How long until this is large scale and farmers could potentially use it on their farm?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you mentioned our machines are electric. We actually started with a battery approach. So the source of the energy is a battery. We've we've since concluded that isn't the right model right now, at least for planting. For a lot of the post-emerge things we do, spraying, side dressing, the battery model works pretty good. We really need to get to a point where we are going 24/7, around the clock with these machines. We actually can't do that today with a battery approach. So we're actually going to what's called a diesel electric approach, which is like a locomotive. And so with that approach, we actually can go 24/7, 7 days a week sort of thing. And that actually has a lot of appeal to farmers to be able to go around the clock. So we have to get to that point where we can go around the clock. The other thing we have to do is we have to be able to monitor these things very closely without babysitting them. So we have to
Hmm.
be able to monitor them from a distance, and we're making good progress on that. Ultimately, AI is going to be important in doing that monitoring. So we're in the field, we're doing some project work, but in terms of wide scale commercial availability of our products, probably a couple years away.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight today.